Alright guys, so first object, this is kind of great looking thing, and the way we're going to create this is by using primitives to recreate the shape of the kind of gaps. And so first thing I'm going to do is create a cylinder. Here it is here, and then kind of move it into place so that it matches the size of the corners. Pull it into place, kind of adjust the scale a little. Duplicate it, combine it so that we can merge the two halves together. Delete the unneeded faces. Select the edges of each half. And then bridge. I think I'm going to leave this one at the default of 5. Go ahead and center pivot. That way we can reposition it a little easier. And then next we need to add some divisions to the plane so that we can make sure these attach properly. So a little insert edge loop, get it kind of close, go back into the channel box and manually adjust my settings so that it splits it in half. These next couple I'm going to line up kind of with the grid lines, which allow me to have a little bit more precise alignment for the section. So move tool, hold down X, snap it into place. Go ahead and do the same thing the other direction. Now this one will go ahead and split in half as well. So that was a control, right click, edge ring utilities, split edge ring, which is the same thing as an as a insert edge loop. It just automatically kind of starts with it being the halfway point. So now I'm just snapping the vent piece into the middle, just kind of lining all the geometry up so that's nice and even. I'm going to add another edge ring and split. And so as you can see, I now have faces that'll line up with all of our edges. Go ahead and do a multi-cut just to kind of get the extra geometry where I need it. Just need to get it kind of close, you know, just create it real quick because we're going to go back and snap all this together a little later. So take this point here and I need to take it all the way to the middle, because we need that extra division. So here to here to there. Repeat the same thing. All right. Now what I'm going to do is kind of scale these in and realign them so that everything is still nice and even. The whole point behind all this is making sure these snaps are right. The geometry is created mathematically correct, and all we want to do is continue that. And so when we've hand placed some of these, we really need to go back and do our snaps so that things will line up in the best way possible. See, maintain a good clean edge. Now where these pulled down, let's go ahead and select them, scale them together, and then snap them back to the surface. Now we can actually get rid of our template piece, and then we can delete out the intersections here, or extrude it down, or however you want to do it. The main thing is we now have that intersection piece. Delete the other half of the geometry, and I'm going to delete the bottom half of the geometry, because what we're going to do is duplicate this stuff, weld it together, and then mirror geometry as a way of quickly creating the rest of the shape. Sometimes you only need to, I mean, if you think about your shape and you break it down, a lot of times you'll find where you can save yourself a lot of repetitive hassle just by making, you know, one or two or a section of a piece, and then by using mirror geometry or duplicate. Yeah, it took me a moment to find the extract that was under mesh tools. I'm sorry, edit mesh. Use extract to separate faces into a new object. So it's sort of a way you can kind of cut and paste faces from an object. So what I'm going to do now is change the pivot point so that it's on the corner. So when I drag it out, I can place the pivot point to where it'll be able to snap right back to its neighbor over here. So the two of them will snap together using a vertex snap. Duplicate again, snap right back, duplicate again, snap right back, and then merge all of them together. Okay, in this case we had 8, so I'll make the first 4, combine them, go to display, polygons, border edges, so you can see where things are not exactly welded. So select all and do a merge. There we go. And that should have connected everything together like we want to. Missed an edge here, so I'm going to go through and add these. And all this is doing is changing that end gun into a quad. Nice clean flow. Now what I'm going to do is go ahead and before we duplicate it over, I want to at least test the bevels. I mean, I guess I could bevel everything, but I'm going to go ahead and extrude the depth down and then test to make sure this thing's going to bevel correctly before we go ahead and mirror all the geometry together. So bevel looks nice, clean. I think it's going to work. So then what we're going to do is just mirror the geometry around. So mesh tools, I'm sorry, mesh, mirror geometry. And if you click on it, it now has a little pop-up, and you can change the direction and the merge mode. all kind of on the fly from the little pop-up box. The other alternate way is you click the option box and it'll pop up your options and you can kind of apply it that way. So repeat that action one more time. This time we want to go into a Z. Go ahead and merge the borders. And then last but not least, rebevel those edges. Go ahead and select everything. Bevel. I think I do a, was it a 0.25, 2 segments and a 0.25? Yeah. There we go. You can always add one more edge around that border just to help fence it in one more time. But I think this is a pretty good, fairly good result. Okay, so for the second shape, the most important thing is to build our kind of S first. So I'm going to go ahead, add a cylinder, and then add the torus. Change it to a 8 and 8. The most important thing I can say of this project is just to pay attention to the images, let them be kind of your guide, and let that work. Section radius is 1, so it'll be as big around as our cylinder. Radius of a 1.5 should match up with the way the curve's set. And delete some of the faces that we don't need. Move that pivot point so that it'll snap to the other object right there. Okay. Combine them. Merge the vertices. All right. Hit extrude out one more section there. Just kind of visually check. Now for this, we're going to need a, I think it's a 2x2. So edge ring split, type multi, it's divisions 2. Do this, repeat the exact same thing down here. Edge ring split, split type multi. So now we have our tic-tac-toe board. And now what we want to do is make sure we line up, line our edges up so that they're going to work with on our board. So all that was a vert snap. Kind of snaps it into place. Kind of place that along that line. Move this one so that it lines up with that one. Right. And the more things line up, the easier the merging process becomes. The easier all the geometry will fit together. Now what it is, just duplicated that part of the S, rotate it around 180 degrees, and then move it into position. A little bit of difference, but then the two will line up fairly well once it's all bridged together. Make sure I've only got the top selected. Make sure you double check that. Alright, and then this one I want this one I want to select all the bottom. This, go to surface, go to mesh display, reverse. I want to flip the normals so that the normals are facing on the inside of the tube, not the outside. And now again, this is where there's multiple ways of doing this process. I just decided I would do it just the kind of quick and semi-sloppy way. So I just used multi-cut to draw the lines right where I need the lines to be. Hit enter. Repeat the same process for the other side. Connect these because we know we're going to need a face there. On the underside, go ahead. Just keep on clicking. Just keep clicking. Just keep clicking. But again, I'm not too worried about how sloppy it is. The main thing is just to get a point kind of close to it, because what we're going to do is we're going to be using the geometry of the pipes as our kind of ruler, right? So if you just for speed's sake, you can lay out lines as multi-cut, and you don't have to place them exactly right, as long as there's another point or a line or something that you can align that to. Okay, so now I'm just going to go back in and delete all my faces in order to make a good proper place for our pipes to connect to. I believe I'll turn it on later in the video, but this would be a good time also to turn on polygon border edges. So now I'm just using the target weld as best as the target weld wants to function with me in order to merge these snap these vertices and merge them into the tube geometry. A lot of times if after the first click or two it doesn't want to snap, what I would recommend doing is just go ahead and just do a move vert snap and just snap it in that way. Sometimes that works better than trying to target weld. I keep drawing boxes out. What I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to merge and target weld this first half of the geometry. See, and then you got some that merge just kind of strangely. I'm going to finish merging this first half of the geometry, and then there's going to be a cut where all I've done is repeat the same process on the other half, but just for brevity I'll make a little cut there. So just keep welding all this stuff together. Again, sometimes the tool gets to be a little sticky. It has to light up, and then you drag, and then it has a little light up line. That vert right there just did not want to behave. There it goes. Okay, so here we are with all the sides and pieces all merged together. Now all I'm going to do is go back and now I'm going to turn on border edges. And we see that we have one more hole in the middle here. This is also where I can check all my other edges where everything was supposedly welded together. You might find places where it just did not merge, or you missed a vert or something along those lines. So make sure you have border edges on. Find any gaps that you have. Use 3 to check your smoothness. For this part, just select the edges on each side and bridge. When you reduce your divisions down to 0, it'll auto merge all those sides, so you have a nice piece of geometry kind of going on here. Now for this last part, what you're going to do is go to vertex, and I think I end up using edge mode, and select partner edges. So insides first, hit R, scale them down together, All right, then the next ones out are scale them down together. And what we're looking for is just kind of that gentle sweep where it goes from flat to reverse and back around. And that should pretty well be the rest of the shape. Now all you need to do is select the outside edges of the pipe and the inside edges of the pipe and perform your bevel. Again, be careful, double check your work. I like alternating between smooth shade and then going into wireframe view just to make sure that the shape I'm looking for has all been selected. So you can see here, even on, especially in the top view looks really nice where you can see the actual S. And then bevel, I think this one was segments 2 and I think a 0.25 again as well. Alright, so the next lesson is going to cover the final piece, so stay tuned for part 2.